welcome to the June edition of a particularly interesting yet now completely sharp relief edition of a manga review, here on the much more relaxed place known as Up on the Lookout. Now, for those of you who don't know, Up on the Lookout is a Dragon Ball podcast with a difference. Here, we'd like to take a more relaxed approach towards this medium of anime and provide our own thoughts about this particular entry that is now in very stark contrast to a movie that came out recently and we talked about in a previous edition of our podcast. But to discuss the latest chapter of Dragon Ball Super's manga with me is my trusty sidekick Haverock.
Hello, I'm Haverock, and I'll tell you what I want, what I really want, and what I really want is my boy Granolah back in his own chapter.
I thought you were going to say Zigga Zigga, but okay, alright, that'll work too. But yeah, I'm Master Coex from Team 4-Star, you know me as Goku, as well as Gohan. But in any case, we're here to talk about the manga. And if you are interested in collecting Dragon Ball podcasts around, do give us a cheeky follow wherever you're listening to podcasts. It really does help us out and get our message out there. And the message that we have about this chapter is that I sped read this, honestly.
Yeah, like it's not a bad chapter, but at this point it's dragging. We should go to that point 3 chapters ago. Like a lot of stuff in this arc, in the later part of this arc, is so redundant. It's like it's a back and forth, and it's not a really creative back and forth, sadly.
No, unfortunately not. And I talked about this in my main review. In fact, in my main review, I usually spend a few minutes recapping the episode or chapter, and I really didn't feel like it. I was like, really, it's mostly just a fight. And sure, there were moments in it, and we'll talk about it later about, some of the things we saw were really cool and it was quite intense. But in short, I could just boil down what happened in 20 seconds. Essentially, Vegeta powers up and fumbles. Goku then finds his own pick and mix variety of Ultra Instinct. Elect tells Gas to snap out of it, that whatever he's doing gets old, and he gets old, and that's it. What would have been a better way of going about this? Instead of having the second half of 82 to the final third of 84, what we could have just had Goku stalls Gas, gets back, they've got a few minutes to be able to try and heal up and figure out a plan. They can't really figure out one unless Monito talks briefly about Bardock, but then Gas shows up, and he then realizes Goku, he mimics innately mannerisms of Bardock, and this unsettles Gas, and throughout that entire battle, Goku mimics the same attacks that Bardock did without even knowing, and it unsettles Gas, and it's like, why is Gas getting so, worked up? And then Monito's like, of course, it's my absolute idol Bardock. He's channeling himself through his boy.
But we needed 2 chapters for Bardock, Masako.
I know, but this would have been a much more hype way of doing it, in my opinion, and it would have cut out 2 chapters, but I think it's our firm belief that because of Superhero's delay, I imagine that Toyotaro was instructed, hey, do you think you could extend the story a little bit, like a couple of months? Because if this manga saga ends when Superhero comes out, it might steal the thunder. It wouldn't steal the thunder, honestly, but I think that was a concern that the people of the Dragon Room, that's the room of Shueisha, where they come up about Dragon Ball's future outside of Toriyama. So it's like a contingency plan should Toriyama keel over one day or not want to do Dragon Ball at all and retire properly. It means that there is a place in Shueisha that can carry the story on.
We are not 100% with this. It's one of the options that we think about, because honestly, we don't want to defend Toyotaro too much because he had some pacing issues in the past. Tournament of Power. I think still the Moro saga is his best paced saga. And this is something that, a lot of people, including Totally Not Mark, said that the way the manga is delivered, all that stuff that happens can be mostly cool. But at the point when you get to them, you see those things kinda coming, mostly, and you are exhausted to the point that you lose interest. It's a shame because I'm pretty sure like when we will really reread the whole thing, like some stuff will land better. I liked Moro Saga. I had some exhaustion at the end, but by the time I've reread the whole thing, I was like, okay, there were some nice build-ups that I didn't give credit for, and it kind of rhymes better because like some details evade you, but like with those longer chapters, I feel that, that whole fight with Gas, and I like Gas, starts to look like, the original fight with Frieza in anime. Like those famous 5 minutes.
I realized something. We first saw Granolah in chapter 67, right? Or in 68. We're on 85 right now, so that's like 18 months. Like, I know that the Moro saga was like 18 chapters. Like, it went from 48 to 67, roughly. So that's like 19 chapters. We're almost getting to the point where this saga's longer than Moro, and a lot more happened in Moro. And I'm feeling like the stakes aren't as high, although you think they are. There are a couple of interesting things in this chapter, but it does feel like Toyotaro was forced to extend this story longer than he probably had originally intended. And we were talking about this just before we recorded, but I have brought up a really good point that Toriyama had been working on Superhero in the story around about the time when Moro's saga was wrapping up in the manga. So maybe Toyotaro had a lot more autonomy with Granolah. Like, he still probably had his bullet points from Toriyama, but probably he had little oversight since Toriyama was busy developing Superhero. They won't be honest with us, obviously, in Japan. Of course they won't. I feel like maybe Toriyama had less opinions about this story.
Also, not for nothing, but like the whole Bardock obsession, like we know that Toyotaro wanted more Bardock. On the other hand, like we have some proofs that Toriyama also has certain fondness for Bardock, and like as we've shown in our discussion, like the franchise loves to remind us about Bardock every 4 years. So
yeah,
almost like Monaito as the Bardock hype man, kinda is kinda meant to represent them. Stuff that I like. I really like the design of what's happening to Gas. Like Gas being basically, he kinda starts to look like a leech like being. It's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, we will talk. I think we'll talk about this because this is probably the most intriguing part of it and the stuff that makes the most sense. In that, the thing about this is that maybe what Elec did that differed from Granolah's wish. Granolah just flat out asked to be the strongest in the universe, and Torombo said, "Oh, okay, it'll cost you." And then Granolah's, "Okay, fine, whatever." He didn't think about having extra stages. Elec probably had something in the condition, or whatever he agreed to, was that if Gas tapped into that particular power, he could summon more power at the cost of reducing his lifespan even more. So he probably had a lot more modularity or flexibility to adapt his power to any potential threat. So Elec could say, oh, well, if another person comes around that claims to be the strongest in the universe, Gas can just catch up and be even stronger, but it'll make him age quicker. But quite clearly, and this confirms our theory, that really Elec views Gas, and by proxy his other siblings, as tools. Like, he has no fondness for them at all. So long as they're useful to him, that's all he cares about. And it's a shame, really, because I really liked Elec at the beginning of the story. I mean, granted, we knew that he was going to end up being one of the big bads, but he genuinely had seemingly at the time, a fondness for his family. Like, he genuinely cared about them. Now we find out that was all a lie.
I mean, he was playing with like he was, being a devil on Gaz's shoulder from far back. I still like him as being, that ruthless, person that uses his own family. He's pretty obviously evil. That makes the rest of the hitters pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you that. That's very true. It's just, I think I was just a bit more crestfallen about the fact that Elec just doesn't really have any nobility to him at all. I hope that there was at least some, but hopefully this could be the thing that Haverock and I have wanted to see for a long time. Oil and Marquis suddenly twigging, wait a minute, Elec just do this to us and we might be expendable, and we don't want to be expendable. You're treating gas too harshly. And the fact is, though, Elec's just now saying, no, gas is going to die. Gas has no other use. This is his only thing now. He's now, interestingly, even after all of this, Elec's main goal is to still take down Frieza. And the thing that makes me think that it could happen is that throughout the last couple of sagas, Frieza's actively noped his way out of the story. But now that Gas can, in theory, use instant teleportation on other people, could he summon Frieza? Like, just find Frieza and then summon him there to try and take him out. And then Frieza's just like, sorry, what's going on here? What? Oh, it's you. That's a theory I think could happen. With this new version of his power, he could do that prior to him becoming wizened and old. Now he's that strong. He could, in theory, just bring Frieza to the battlefield himself. And then Frieza's completely defenseless. Or this is where he can summon up a new power that he's been working on.
There's so many characters now deserving of killing Elec, because I feel that Granolah, Oil, and Maki, and Frieza all are pretty good candidates to off Elec in this saga.
Yeah, because Elec's not the strongest. He can be taken out with a decent amount of power, like even Goku and Vegeta. I don't want them to take him out because, he's an easy kill. It needs to be somebody like Granolah to be symbolically the one to do it.
I'm the camp that one of the coolest ways of how he could die would be like Maki shooting him in the back.
She just sees him going mad with desperation and just realizes this is just going to get out of control. This is just, we're gonna lose our heads entirely. Like, we're gonna lose everything. Like, if he puts all his eggs in one basket, and then people find out that, the heaters have lost their ace in the hole in the form of gas, and Elec's gone crazy, it could destabilize everything.
If, like, Maki and Oil survive, like, Maki will be the new one, the new leader, essentially.
Yeah. Because, it's quite clear that Gas is not going to make it out of this battle. He's not going to. He's probably got days. Like, he's probably at the point where he is wizened. He's probably reached the end of his natural lifespan. And either Goku and Vegeta or Granolah, they have to fight Gas at this form. Or it's going to get to that point where Gas just dies. Like, he just dies. He's become too strong. And Elec goes, oh no. Like, he just realized what he did.
Or alternatively, it's not age per se, but like he drains his own life energy to be stronger. The coolest way, like I don't think they will do it, but the coolest way would be for Granolah to calm Gas down, to be like, you don't have to do this. We've both been played. That would be. I don't think they will do that. This is what I would like to see, because again, the most consistent trait of Granolah through that saga, Granolah doesn't kill. So in my opinion, like, it would be pretty poetic if Granolah actually saved Gas.
I think it's too late for Gas now, because Elec said there won't be a next time. But I wouldn't be surprised if Elec didn't expect Gas to get that strong. Like, sure, he tried to like psych Gas up into getting back into the battle, but I don't expect he was anticipating him to use that much power. Like, he's probably just going, because he realized, he turns around and goes, he's shocked. He's like, oh, okay. There are two things that I want to discuss before we wrap things up, because this is a really good point. First of all, I want to discuss Goku. So, Goku can now essentially mix and match Ultra Instinct. Granted, I do prefer Ultra Instinct Sign or Omen as the base, because that's the most intimidating looking. Mastered Ultra Instinct, it's never really sat well with me. It's like, it's fine, okay, fair. But Sign just looked more imposing when we first saw it. It was like, that's the perfect look.
And I think I think they realized that as well.
I think so. And the thing is that I think Goku's worked it out for himself, as he says in the manga chapter, that, yeah, sure, Mastered Ultra Instinct is in theory stronger, but it doesn't really work for me right now. Like, at the moment, I've been through a lot today. And I can't hack it. So he's just going, well, this works for me. I can pick and choose other things from different powers. I'm just going to use this as a base form because I know how to make this work. So, yeah, he's doing that. And it didn't help with the Gas that Goku was acting like Bardock, and sure enough, what they were talking about in the previous chapter and the one before that was that Gas was nettled and unsettled by Bardock because he was strong. And that's happening exactly the same way with Goku. So Gas is being destabilized, he chucks everything at Goku, doesn't work, and sure, he's really, really strong, Gas, at this point, but he doesn't have the mental fortitude to be able to handle something that is getting in his way.
I'm sorry, I just realized something. Like, in this chapter, Elec is basically pumping up the gas.
Oh, he's stepping on the gas.
Yeah.
The probable showrunners of this manga realize that Omen is probably quite cool, and they want to see more of it. I saw some people were really complaining that, Goku's just come up with his own version of Ultra Instinct. Well, it's not really that much of a surprise, because throughout the entire fight with Granolah even, Goku showed that he can use elements of Ultra Instinct in different transformation states, like in Super Saiyan Blue or regular Super Saiyan, or even in Base. That's what Whis was teaching him. Like, Ultra Instinct isn't a technique or solid transformation, it's a way of fighting, it's a style that you can adapt to whatever situation you're in. So it's just calling upon elements of it whenever you need to. So I think that's what Whis was trying to explain, and I think Goku gets it now. Like, he doesn't have to transform all the way. He can just pick and choose what's required. So, okay, I get that.
In a way, it is shown that those divine powers have different routes to them. If you consider God of Destruction Topo and Ultra Ego Vegeta, two paths to the same goal. These are similar powers, but they are not identical. I would even tell about more powers, like the godly powers related to different, godly stuff, but that would be spoiler for the movie. What we've seen in Super so far is that there isn't one way to a certain point of godly power. Like, look at Zamasu and his whole shtick in Goku's body. Like, he invents new forms.
Yeah, he does. Rose.
Those powerful forms, like, are meant to be slightly personalized, like Golden Frieza. Like, it is implied that he chose that color.
Yeah, he did. I've always believed that he chose that color to mock Super Saiyan.
There are elements that I really like here. I feel the biggest problem that the saga has is that they decided to drag this battle in that one place on serial for so long that Moro at least had some space traveling, had more space adventures to kinda, help the pacing.
I think we've been on this planet since chapter 72, so that's like over a year. And you just feel like, oh my god, what is going on here? Another thing I want to say what's going on here is Ultra Ego. Like, in my mind now, because of its lack of effectiveness, I'm putting it in the same category as Super Saiyan 3. Like, it looks cool, doesn't really do much.
It's not even that. To me, it's like the original Golden Frieza right now.
That's ironic, because Golden Frieza's flaw was exacerbated by Vegeta using Super Saiyan Blue. I mean, Goku saw it, but Vegeta pounded on Frieza because of it. And now the same is happening to Vegeta.
Remember, Goku has mastered his Ultra Instinct. Vegeta hasn't mastered Ultra Ego. This is his first. This is his equivalent of Goku's fight with Jiren in Ultra Instinct.
That is a fair point, yeah. But I think what would have been really cool is if he was going to have to tap out or realize that he had reached his limit, he should have at least been able to have taken out one of Gas's horns, and then Goku could have taken out the other one.
Oh, obviously.
Vegeta realized he was actually getting somewhere with this power, and then Goku goes to finish it off, and it's a symbolic means of castration. As in, we've nullified you, Gas. And even Goku's trying to show mercy. It's like, hey, if you just wanted to fight and your main beef isn't with us, we can do it another time. We can do it later. They're sort of going like, well, if you want to take out Frieza, you can,
We won't stand in your way, so you're absolutely right. And again, like the trope of Vegeta losing all the time is getting tiring in the manga,
Yeah, superheroes really exacerbating the fact that the Dragon Room and the people who are in charge of the anime don't mind trying new things. They're really trying to push the boat out with Gohan figuring out a balance, Piccolo being pushed right back up onto the podium spot in terms of power.
We don't mention Goku and Vegeta. There wasn't a lot with them, but they did something important with those characters in those like short 8 minutes. That's not a huge spoiler that they don't show.
No, not really. It's implied it is a Gohan and Piccolo movie.
A lot of stuff is like pushed in the animation. Why manga is so like, is it something that Toyotaro is instructed to do? Is it something that he wants to do? We don't know. We don't know how it works, and a lot of problems are obviously on him. But on the other hand, like some of the stuff, I'm sure is connected to the framework he has to work in.
I feel like that there are some limitations that Toyotaro has to stick within. He's gotten this plum of being essentially the successor to Toriyama, as in like being the person in charge of the Dragon Ball manga. And that's a lot of pressure. But you feel like after 7 years of doing this, of doing the manga, he would have been able to at least have had some responsibility handed his way.
And if he does, oh boy.
Maybe you feel like Dragon Garoli might have been a better fit for this. Like Dragon Garoli, he's the guy who done the case of being reincarnated as Yamcha. I feel like maybe he might have been a better choice because he got the manga style down well and people liked it. But then again, we will never know probably because that was just a one-time 3-chapter short story. That's very different to a long-time serial.
I do wonder. I do wonder what will happen next. I do wonder if they want to go to superhero, past superhero, before superhero. You know?
And another thing potentially is that maybe Granolah sacrifices himself to stop gas. And maybe that could easily truncate everything in, so that means Granola's never spoken of again in any other chapter after that or any other saga. So it just kind of like puts him in within that self-contained saga, and that's it. I hope not. I think that's enough to talk about Chapter 85. Not much essentially happened, but what did happen sort of progressed things. If you shorten it down or abridge it, then you kind of see some stuff happening, but it was really dragged out.
Hey, at least this one didn't make us angry.
No, that's true. It's a bit like, okay, it's fine. It's a fine chapter, but not a lot of stuff happens.
Yeah, we expected
but
this
as you
to
say,
happen. We expected
it wasn't
this
terrible.
to happen, but like it's like, oh yeah, this should happen.
No, you're right. I think that wraps everything up for today. Once again, Herb, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, always a pleasure.
And thank you all out there for joining us today. If you liked what you heard, do leave us a follow on your podcasting platform of choice. It really helps us out. And we shall see you again very soon for future episodes of Up on the Lookout, as well as many other things on this podcast stream. Hope you're all doing well, and we shall see you again soon. Ta-da!
Bye!